Welcome to another episode of the 100% podcast with me, your host, Harry Purdy. Today, I am delighted to be coming back on to the show to discuss the takeaways and the most recent trip I've had on a meditation retreat up in Scotland. I wanted to share my experiences, what I've learned, and my 5 biggest takeaways from the trip. I don't think this is going to be the longest episode I've ever done in the world, but I did want to come on and talk to you about what I did, what I learned, and I guess 5 reminders and lessons that I can share with you from my experience of taking meditation a little bit more seriously than maybe I would have done if I was doing it on my own, for example. So let's just talk to you about what I did, where I went, and those kind of things. So on Monday, a couple of weeks ago, I flew up to Scotland, landed at Glasgow, and then headed to a place called Drymen, so Drymen, to participate in a small group meditation retreat in the arts and the lessons of and techniques of ascension meditation. Meditation in general can be done in so many different forms. There's many different sets of meditation and ways to meditate, but fundamentally, one little takeaway straight away at the start of the show is that there's no right or wrong way to meditate, but this is a tool to use to make your meditation experience just that little bit better if you want to take it a little bit more seriously and reap some more rewards from your meditation practice in general. So over those 3 days, on the Monday in the evening, we did a session, like lessons and our intentions for the meditation. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, we did adventures, and also we did the actual main body. So 2 sessions on both days of learning about and participating in meditation. And this was done by an amazing guy who I've had on the show before, called Arjuna Ashaya, who is an Ashaya monk, and he specializes in the teachings of being present and ascension meditation. And it was incredible to finally meet him. So, side story, on a couple of occasions, I've been booked to go to this retreat before, but on both of those occasions, I think I had the flu. And then at the start of this year, it's publicly, my mum was in intensive care, so I had to move it forward to this time. But by the by, we made it there this time, and it was incredible to share an environment with somebody who is experienced and I guess is that mindful and present and aware and wise enough to share the experiences and teachings of meditation practice in itself. So that was the setup. That was who the teacher was, and we were set up. So on the Friday night, we did some practice on the meditation and the practice of what we were being taught. And what I noticed straight away about the practice is that when you are doing something for the first time, there's a lot of noise about what am I doing right, or am I doing things right, what could I be doing better, and all of those kind of things. And I think that's like a bit of a blessed kind of, or not even a blessed thing, it's a bit of a curse from being in the self-improvement space, right? Because you're always kind of looking to maybe optimize, not hack, or not have hustle with, but like optimize the way that you're doing something. And I think that can come in too, but essentially that is something that doesn't help with meditation, right? Because you want to quieten the mind, or the idea is to quieten the mind. You can't force it to quieten, but you can give it the opportunity to. But eventually, over the kind of 72 hours that I was there, the thought processes around the event, all of the things that I want to achieve, the podcast, the fact that I was in a different environment, the fact that I was sharing a house with some people that I didn't really know that well, and I knew some people, but didn't know like loads of people that well. And putting yourself in that environment makes the brain noisy, right? It makes the brain want to get involved and have conversations with you. But the more that you practiced and on that regular basis of like every 30 minutes, sitting with your eyes shut and focusing on the techniques, which I'm not allowed to share with you on today's podcast, not in a cult way, but just out of respect for what I've been taught. And I paid for entry to have this um, experience and have these techniques shared with me. I can tell you my experiences of what happened, but I'm not allowed to share what the actual techniques are, which I think is fair enough. But what happened over that for those 3 days is that all of the stresses and all of the things that were on the periphery of my mind, like the event and all of the things that I have in my bucket at the moment, just kind of quieting down. And when I would shut my eyes, I really did feel present, and little things you start to pay notice of a little bit more, like where you were, and not as I didn't know where I was, but really focusing intently on where I was. And the experience of seeing a red squirrel for the first time in the wild was pretty cool, which obviously down in the south of England you don't see any of those, if yeah, many or any at all. But in Scotland they are the squirrel, right? And it was really amazing to see that, and rabbits on the lawn of where we were staying, and those kind of things, they just like they hit a little bit more. So that presentism of feeling more present with life at the time definitely got multiplied by the fact and act of the meditation practice that I was participating in. And also, the other thing that happened was when you go through life, I'm sure you all have worries and um, things that pop up on your mind that maybe causing you a little bit more bother than they normally would, and sometimes made up stuff, that, or not made up, like things that will happen one day that maybe you aren't ready for or don't have peace for right now. With the meditation practice that we did, it gave me some opportunity to prepare myself with my own methods of approaching what it was that I was struggling with. So, for example, um, there was an issue that I unfortunately got rattled with the other day, and I was annoyed that I got annoyed, right? And my brain brought that back up, and I managed to process it in a way where I was able to flip it with a different perspective and bring myself some kind of calmness to it. And that happened with a few different situations. And I think when you do take that time to be with yourself and close your eyes and focus on what's going around in your brain, seeing what pops up to deal with, and if we need to deal with it, you can let it pass, or if you don't need to deal with it, you can let it pass. But if you do need to deal with it, you can take action on it and like kind of deal with it in your own little way. You see me closing my eyes as I'm talking about that there. It gave me the opportunity to do that. But what it also reminded me, there were so many other little reminders that Arjuna would share with us about the possibilities that you were even here. And it gave us the opportunity to be grateful. It gave us the opportunity to have thanks. It gave us the opportunity to look into the possibilities. It gave us the opportunity to like have a little bit of self-care. And it was really, really, really peaceful and nice to share a space with other like-minded people that are interested in the art of self-awareness and being present and meditating as well. So that was really, really cool. With the methods, I honestly mean it when I say that there's no right or wrong way. I kind of lumbered myself onto like like a cuddle chair. So I was sat on the cuddle chair for all of the meditations, little blanket over my legs, and then like when we do the work, you could ask questions and kind of dive into a little bit more about what the techniques were, and it was just really cool. Like there honestly is no right or wrong way of meditating. There are just different techniques. And in the meditation retreat, I was using the cuddle chair, and at home, I link it into a habit that I would have. So if I have a bath, I'll meditate, or if I don't have a bath, have a armchair downstairs in the lounge with a beanbag in front of it from my grandma, um, and next to my bookcase. And I find that really nice because I could put a blanket over me, make sure that I'm warm, make sure that I'm not distracted, turn all of the TVs, all of the distractions off, and it just feels really quiet. And actually, where that armchair is, it looks right out onto the garden in front of my house, and quite often I'll see wildlife there. Not anything extraordinary, but squirrels, birds, all of those kind of things. And yeah, it's quite a nice place to be present and like open your eyes to see the greenery in front of the house. So again, like I say, there's no right or wrong way. You can do it sat down at a dinner table. You can do it first thing in the morning when you wake up. You can do it last thing at night when you go to sleep. You can literally do it anywhere you want to. And even if it's something that you're not practicing, so eyes shut, you can still be mindful with your eyes open, right? And just start. One of the best ways to start meditating with your eyes open is to just start noticing things a little bit more. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell? And what can you see? What can you smell? What can you touch? All of those kind of things, which actually link into CBT therapy with regards to being present in the moment rather than getting caught up in your own thoughts. Because when you do all of those things, like feeling the toothbrush when you're feeling the toothbrush when you're doing your teeth, and that's the only reason you'd be feeling the toothbrush, I would hope. Other things like when you're making a cup of tea, hearing the noises of the kettle, hearing the noise of the teaspoon around the side of the mug are all real ways of being present and adding some form of meditation to your life. So that's a nice little takeaway for you today. You don't need to, if you're feeling a little bit of restriction or a little bit of resistance to meditating with your eyes shut right now because you've not experienced it or you don't believe in it right now, maybe one way to do it is to bring that present experience into your life by doing it with your eyes open. So going into the other bits of the trip as well, we went for a hike up I'm gonna call it a mountain or a hill. It's definitely a mountain. I think they call it something. Fallow? I'm gonna have to get myself to Google this. Fallow Hill, Scotland name. Yeah, it's called a fallow. So, oh no, okay. So Fallow Hill is a prominent. Okay, I'm just gonna Google this again. What is the name for all the summits in Scotland? Munro, there we go. It's called a Munro. So we went up a Munro. And a Munro is a name for all the mountains in Scotland, which are defined as mountains over 3,000 feet or 914 metres in height. These mountains were first listed by Sir Hugh Munro in 1891, and they're a significant part of the Scottish mountaineering culture. There we go, see? So we're giving lessons out on the podcast as well. So we climbed the Munro. It's called Ben Ann. So B-E, like Ben, and then Ann, A''A''N. And it was just over a mile in height, and it was absolutely incredible. This was the first bit of kind of exploration and adventure that we got on into during this trip. And there were two things that blew my mind. First thing was the view. Absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. We got up there just about for sunset, and the weather was obviously cold at the top of the mountain. We were in Scotland, right? It's always cold, but we honestly, the photo will do it justice. It's absolutely insane. You could see the Loch Lomond, you could see further mountains / Munros in the distance. You could see the sun setting in like the clear / cloudy sky. It was absolutely amazing. The next part was the fitness of 54-year-old Arjuna Ashaya. He was at the front of the pack with me, and one of the agreements that I made with myself was I want to be able to do this in the speed that Arjuna's doing this when I'm 54. So there's a little personal challenge. But when I said to him, man, it's so cool that you can do this at 54, he said one of the biggest restrictions that people put on themselves unknowingly is saying that they're too old to do something. And actually, through personal experience and conversations I've had with people, I know that be the absolute case. It definitely is a thing, a label that people give themselves and attach themselves to in life. And then the second adventure thing that we did was we went for a cold water dips into sauna therapy the next morning. The next afternoon. And again, absolutely incredible. I'd not done ice bathing for a while. I will absolutely admit to you guys that I I had the fear about ice bathing, because not only wasn't like I was just gonna like leave this room and turn the cold shower on and jump into it, or and then be able to like warm up, straight, be like, fuck that, turn the tap back off, or turn the hot tap on. It was 3-degree water in Scotland in February, in March, sorry, and it was just, something was just going round and round in my head. And you know what? Through, I guess, practice and knowing that being outside of my comfort zone is a good thing, walked straight in, did my 2 minutes, hopped straight out, and then straight into the sauna, and it was one of the best things. And again, I think I fell in love with Scotland whilst I was there, because when I was in this like part of the lock, like it just kind of like, there was like the lock, and then it veered round to the right, and then there was like this little kind of like calm little bit next to where the sauna was. You could just walk straight in like a beach, get in there, and then the view though in front of you was just like electrifying. It was so, and I maybe I promise I'm not over exaggerating. It was something that I don't even think you would be put into perspective in a movie. It was just so grounding and real, and I don't know, really present, the feeling and the place that we were. But and again, there's nothing more that will make you present than spending some time in cold water. So I did 2 minutes in the cold water and 10 minutes in the sauna, 2 minutes again, 10 minutes. And then at the end, I did a 3 minute stint, and then went back into the sauna for the last time. And you just feel so good after that. Again, another way to get yourself present if you don't want to participate in a form of meditation for any kind of reason right now, is to just spend 10, 15, 20 seconds exposing yourself to cold water therapy, just to feel that sense of being in the moment. So, moving further on into the takeaways from the experience, I didn't want this to be a massively long podcast episode today, but 5 of the takeaways from today's episode. The more time you spend meditating and practicing your technique of meditating, the quieter your mind will eventually get. And what that means is, when you get wrapped up in thought, that shows and can show a lack of self-regulation in terms of being in the moment, right? Because you get caught up in the past, or you get caught up in the future. What meditation does is it allows you to separate those running thoughts that go on and on and on and on and on, and allow you to see the thought and be like, oh, that's interesting, and let it move on, rather than extra worry that you're thinking about the worry, extra worry that you're then anxious about the worry of the worry, and then that we've all been there, that loop that carries on and on and on. That's the first takeaway. The more time and the more open-minded to it, the more easier you find your mind to deal with. The second thing, I've been participating in forms of meditation now for 5 years. So I reckon I started Headspace in 2020, 2021, and I've expanded to be able to close my eyes and meditate for 20 minutes without any kind of guide in the background. But nothing you teach yourself will beat the experience of somebody who's very much more educated than you. So basically what I'm saying there is, like, ask for help. If you've got somebody, doesn't necessarily need to be meditation related, but if you've got somebody in your network that does said thing, and you want to get good at said thing, just ask them. Even if, what's it going to cost you? 40 quid? If I give you 50 quid, will you show me how to do X, Y, Z? If I seen you've cracked the Instagram algorithm for said thing recently. Would you mind giving me half? They may do it for free, more likely to do it for free, right? But seriously, if you want to do something, go and get advice off of people that have been there and done it. Third thing, be open-minded. I kind of alluded to this in my first point, but being open-minded is something I talk about a lot within my coaching. I talk a lot within the growth of my own self. Of, again, 10 years ago, if you'd have said to me, Harry, you're going to be going on a meditation retreat in 2026, you're going to be jumping in a lock, you're going to climb a mountain at suns, or maybe I'd have said that sounds cool, so we'll leave that one out. But you'd have spent 3 days with the sole focus being on meditation and sitting there, like, I guess I'd have envisioned legs crossed, arms up in the air, like oming, but that's not what it is. Genuinely, with all of these things that I talk about within my content, journaling, meditating, moving, spending time in nature, being present in the moment, like, can sound a little bit hippy dippy, but I'm becoming more open-minded to open-mindedness myself. But if you'd have asked Harry of 22, 23 years old whether he thought that he would do these things, it would have been a straight no, like a hard no. But because I've done it, I've seen the benefit that it offers, and I can share that with you all now. And the fourth thing that it taught me was the amazing possibilities of life and the opportunities that we have in life to go and experience whatever we want to experience, and from the extreme to the downright, like, calmness of you can do whatever you want to do. But there's so many incredible facts of life that I think get ignored, like even to the extent of how these Monroes or mountains are formed, and the sunset and sunrise and the stars in the sky, and how small in comparison to the universe we are. And again, I don't. It's not as like I don't want to talk about it, but it's not what this podcast is about. But being reminded of that, and then meditating on those things, and spending time thinking about the being really present in your life and noticing the small things and seeing the red squirrel of all things to make me go, oh my God, that's amazing. And it genuinely did make me feel that, like, sense of shock and awe of fucking hell, I've not seen one of those before. I'm seeing something different. That's so really cool. And just amazing. Unbelievable. So, so cool. And then the fifth thing that I want to share with you is more of a share and a lesson, is that Arjuna gave us this story of, like, as an ascension monk and a Shire monk. He says that, like, as a group of people, they are incredibly kind, incredibly giving. They want to help, and it's part of their kind of group that they want to help as many people as possible. But they do that. He used an analogy of, like, when you see somebody in a hole who's dug themselves a hole, whether that be emotionally, with a situation, whatever it may be, if they've dug themselves that hole, you can offer them help all the time from above it. But he said, making this story short, if you get down in the hole with them and offer them the help that you can give them with whatever experience you have, or like just the arm around the shoulder, what people tend to do is they dig the hole a little bit deeper and then takes you down with them. And it's another analogy for the tugboat and the lighthouse. So you want to be a lighthouse, not a tugboat. But I just really liked it. I was like, yeah, you can't. And it's something that maybe is talked down on a lot, and I don't know why. It's like it's for some reason it's been politicized. You know, that you have to look after yourself before you look after other people. But if they tell you that on an airplane for health and safety, then I mean, it's true for the essence of life too, right? Is that you can't fill from an empty cup, as another way of looking at it. But I really like the analogy of, you can hand a ladder down and you can say, hey, like, when you're ready, I can help you. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to jump in that hole with you, because I know what you're going to do. You're going to say, yeah, you don't understand, or you're going to say, or you're going to carry on digging the hole. And with that, you have two choices, I think. You carry on living the life that you want to do, or you sometimes can get distracted and sapped away, or taken away from the life you want to live, and maybe get, again, the power of your environment, right? Get sucked into that little bit of drama. So that's my 5 lessons from the meditation retreat, is that your mind will quieten over time with practice with meditation. Ask for help with whatever endeavor it is that you want to go and achieve. There are people out there with so much more experience than you. That's not in a big-headed way. There's more people out there that have done the thing that you've want to go and do, and they've got the knowledge that can help you, even if it's like 5% boost, right? Be open-minded towards anything that can make you get better. If you are closed-minded, I think, yeah, it's one of the worst traits in humans, I think, is closed-mindedness and not being willing to try. Um, there's only one thing I won't try, and that's tomatoes. I fucking hate them. Genuine. Amazing reminder of the possibilities in life. Again, it's kind of like a bit of a woo-woo thing, but definitely a takeaway that you would want to experience from a meditation retreat. And then the analogy of the man in the hole or the person in the hole. Remember, you can offer them a ladder and offer them help, but don't jump in the hole with them because, they tend to dig that hole a little bit deeper. Call to action then for the end of the episode is I'd love to know your biggest takeaway from the show, like whether it be one of my 5 takeaways, whether it's something I've said from earlier in the episode today. What is it that's helped you with your own experiences of meditation? How do you meditate? I'd love to know that. And what would be your biggest takeaway from meditation in general if you don't? Or actually, if you're somebody that's on the other side of the fence and you're like, I don't really know, Harry. Like, I hear you. I can hear you giving this passionate kind of chat about your experiences of the retreat and whatnot. But if you have a question about like I'm really stuck, I don't know how to try, like I'm willing to point you in the right direction, right? I can send as many people as possible. This isn't an ad, nor do I get sponsored. I don't get any money from this whatsoever. But being a member of Headspace, I can send as many people as I want a 30-day free trial. So if you want that, let me know. Just comment trial and I'll ping you it over in the comments. And if you have enjoyed this episode as well, make sure you drop a like and subscribe on it. I'm here most Fridays with a new episode. As you're aware, I've kind of like taken the pressure off a little bit. If I want to record a podcast or I've got a really good guest for the podcast and they're coming out, but more than likely we'll have a new episode here every Friday. If you want to see another clip from another show, come and click this little thing here. Where are we? Here. But if not, I'll see you next week. Take care.